Hi, welcome back to EducateTube.com. My name is Sipski, your host. Today I'll be talking about how to buy and sell at Kijiji or Craigslist. It's very important to establish these rules in order to have a very pleasant transaction. In fact, I would say for your safety, you must follow this instruction. There's a case I mentioned in my previous video in Canada anyway. There was a case where somebody was selling their cars and they were murdered because they weren't careful on how they conduct their sales. So I'm going to establish some rules for you guys if you're considering buying and selling at Kijiji or Craigslist. It's very important because if you want to make some money, you can make some money actually, especially if you have old things that you want to sell off or you want to trade in, whatever it is. Involving lots of money, like thousands of dollars. Some people sell their car, some people sell their camera, lens, etc. Okay, smartphones. You got to know what you're doing, especially there's a lot of scams out there. And I'm gonna tell you, there is a lot out there at Kijiji and Craigslist, so you got to know how to do this. All right, so let's start. Number one. Okay, whether you're a seller or buyer, number one rule is this. You must meet in public places. Okay? So establish a public place, a specific time and date, right? And commit to that, both of you, whether you're a buyer or seller, and that place has to be in public. For example, McDonald's, Tim Hortons, Wendy's, wherever in the mall, in the food court, for example, where there's a lot of people, and that if something happened, you know that you're in a large crowd where people can observe what's happening, right? So if somebody ran away with your stuff, if you're a seller, then you can, hi, can nobody help me? Somebody's stealing my stuff. Or if somebody you're a buyer and you give you the money and then they ran off with your money without giving you the item, again, you would shout and then hopefully somebody will come to your rescue. There's a safety measure in that, okay? That's number one rule. Never, ever meet in your house. Never ever, even whatever they say, if the seller tells you you got to come to my place, do not do it. Please do not do it unless they're an established business entity and that their house is a business address and that it's been known by locals and it's in the phone book, for example. Then okay, and has a sign in their house that they say is a business, right? Then maybe okay that you can go there. Other than that, do not go to any place where there is nobody observing what's happening. Rule number one, alright? Meet in public place. Rule number two, cash is king. Remember that, cash is king. Always ask for cash if you're a seller. No excuses from the buyer saying, oh, I'll give you a check, or oh, I'll give you a credit card, through PayPal, if I send it through whatever it is, right? Remember, if they do credit card transaction or PayPal, whatever it is possible they can report saying that, the item has been stolen, whatever it is, like whatever excuse they come up with, and then of course the money that you got from PayPal will be taken away from you, or whatever credit card company they can call credit company that the credit card has been stolen, right? When you're talking about thousands of dollars, especially with buying a car, for example, do not let them do that. Unless, of course, both of you go to the bank. Don't let them, don't go together in the same car. Different car, meet at the public place in the bank, and then do the transaction there, get the cash there, or, especially a lot of money, right? Or a certified check through the bank. Both of you have to be there. The teller has to be there. Somebody's witnessing it, right? So that's the important. So cash is king. Another important thing is no negotiating. The one thing I hate is that I established, so make sure you put price is firm. Not when there is no leeway here. When I sell my stuff, I know exactly what this thing's worth. I'm telling you how much it's worth. Even the buyer said, no, I think it's worth, no. If you're a seller, if you know the price, just check on Kijiji, the average price for a smartphone, for example. You know the price, stay with that, it's firm. Now, if the buyer look at it and they were kind of a little unhappy, and you agree with that it's not what you describe, and you should try to describe everything you said, right? So for example, if there's a little dent, a little scratch, you should tell them online, so they know ahead of time. So the buyer will not make excuses. Say, oh, there's a dent here, there's a scratch here, I won't be able to buy it. You know, you have to give me 50% off. No way, right? As a seller, you said no. I already told you there was a scratch on so and so, and there's a photo. So make sure you take a photo and a video. Remember, use YouTube for video. Take photo. You can upload the photo, and just describe exactly what it is. And then the buyer will have to decide upfront before meeting whether they buy or not. If they negotiate, you must be able to walk right out. Even though I know it's a waste of your time, it's also a waste of the buyer's time as well. You should just walk out. Unless, of course, you're willing to compromise 10%. But I would say keep the price firm, right? There's no reason why you should lower it when the buyer sees it. Because when you describe it, you're honest about it, and you just define exactly what you see is what you get, right? So show a lot of photos and a video. Another thing is the buyer would want from you is that hopefully, now in the description, right? If it's original packaging, tell them it's original packaging, comes with everything that you see here, right? They love it if you're a buyer, of course, right? If there's a warranty, okay? And there's a purchase receipt. That's very important. If I was a buyer, I would want that, and I'm willing to pay for the full price that they listed. If not, describe that you don't have the receipt, and you don't. If you're a seller, right? You don't have a receipt, and the warranty has expired, but it's still in excellent condition. They can bring the equipment to try it out, or whatever it is, they can try it out. Now with the car, it's a little bit different. You know, make sure that they don't want. You know, I don't know about the car. I never deal with cars. So something about the cars, you might have to get definitely a mechanic to check it out, right? Because the car is a bit more complicated. The buyer may just drive it off with your car, for example, right? So I don't know about that one. But definitely, if they want to check about, how good it is, you have to get a mechanic that certified it, all right? So my suggestion here is more of like cameras, lens, things where it's portable, things where you can carry to the mall, to the public places. Whereas a car is a bit harder, okay? So a car, you might have to get a third person involved, right? Like a mechanic or whatever it is, whoever it is may be able to help you out with that one. Do not go alone, both of you, whether you're seller or buyer. It's kind of dangerous. You might definitely bring one along. That's another important thing too. Bring someone along, right? If you can, right? But still have to meet in public places, okay? Number 3, very important. So we talked about 1, meet in public places. Number 2, cash is king. And number 3, always, I mentioned this briefly before as well, but always describe exactly what you're selling, okay? Take a lot of photos, take a lot of video when you post it up. Tell the buyer that you have a warranty if you have it, and that you have purchase receipt if you have it. Bring that out, okay? That will bring the value to your house, to your item, especially if you have the original box and an accessory that comes with it, okay? So tell them all that what you have. If you don't have it, obviously the price will go down when you're trying to sell it. It doesn't mean that it will go down to the point where it's worthless, right? You have to establish, as a seller, you have to establish your price, and you got to be firm with it. You know that this is a good product. This is something that you wouldn't want to sell if you had a choice, right? So you're selling it because you need a little bit of money. So that's the only reason you're selling it. So do that. You don't sell it, well, would you, for example, let's say a camera's worth $4,000 and the warranty has passed and you lost your receipt. And you rarely use this camera. Maybe it has 1,000 shutter counts, right? Now, it was 2 years ago it was worth $4,000, and then you look up the price in the store, it's still worth $3,500. So you're not going to sell, and then because the shutter count is slow for that camera, you're not going to sell it for less than $2,000, obviously, right? You're probably going to sell it for around, because remember there's tax involved as well, so $3,500 plus tax for the new one, right? So what you want to do is, okay, it's up to you really. You have to decide, okay, I think for myself around $2,800 is a good price point. Even $3,000. Remember that if you include the tax, the $3,500 will go all the way up to almost $4,000, right? So if you establish $3,000, I think that's pretty fair. If you really want to sell it, maybe $2,800, right? So that kind of thing. You have to work out the price and be happy with it and be firm with it, and and look also at other people listing that same product, and you have to make sure that the product is in full functional state, unless of course you mention that it's non-functional or there's some problem with it, then of course it may not be worth as much as what the buyer would want, right? But if it's a good product, it's fully functional, it is like as new, we call it as new, right? Then yeah, I don't see any reason why you just list it for about 70 to 80% of what it's worth. That's remember, when they buy, you have to pay tax, and when they buy from you cash, there's no tax involved, right? All right, what else? Yes, number 4, which is more like the other 3 that I just mentioned, which is very mandatory. Meet at public places, cash is king, and describe as much as you can of your product. If it's a service, describe as much as the service as well, right? So make sure you put a photo and videos on that of your product. What else? Yeah, just be specific. So those are 3 most important things that you have to establish and do. Oh, by the way, I'm talking about scammers. There are people who will try to email you, said, oh, my daughter or my wife really want this as a gift. I will buy the full amount that you want, but can you ship to this address? You know what? No way, Jose. I'm not shipping it. You got to meet me face to face, and you got to pay me cash, right? In public places, we're gonna meet, and I'll pay me cash. Otherwise, no do, boy or girl, wherever you are. I don't even know who that person is sending it, and they'll say, oh, we'll give you, we'll send the cash or through PayPal, blah blah blah, whatever it is. No. Answer is absolutely no. I will not send it to anywhere in the world unless, for example, it's an auction place like eBay or something like that. Okay? Then there's a third party involved. Remember, Kijiji and Craigslist, there's no third party. You and the seller, and if you're the seller, right? Seller and the buyer, or a buyer and a seller. That's it. So if anything happened, there's no one to be accountable for except your item is stolen, right? You can think it's stolen, or that your cash has been taken away, right? So think about that. Yeah. So here's the 4th point. Do not regret. Okay. So if you don't sell it, that's okay. That's fine. You know what? If it wasn't safe for you to go, the guy want to meet you in a some private place in his house or something like that, where there's no accountability, forget it. It's for your safety. You don't want to do that. Okay. So do not regret. There's always, if it's a good product, there's always a buyer. Trust me. Okay. There's always a buyer, and if you put the right price, then you're gonna be happy with that price, and it's full functional. Especially if you have everything like the receipt, the warranty, and all that. I guarantee you, and it's also a good product that everybody wants. You're gonna sell it. Okay. Don't worry about that. If there's this buyer giving you a hard time, move on to the next one. I remember selling my camera. I had like five emails, and 3 of them wanted it. And I said, okay, the first one that we established the time and date will be the first one to sell it. And it's always the case. I always sell my stuff on the first try. Okay. Now there was a case where one of the buyer wanted to negotiate the time, the price, and I was quite upset. I said, we were firm about that, but because I had to leave right away, and they really want it, I said, okay, fine. You know what? I said 800, and the guy wanted 765. Really cheap, right? Like, okay, $35, really? All right, I have to go. But if you want that and I want the money, okay, sure. 765. If I had the time, if I didn't have to rush, I would not settle for that. I would actually leave, even for that $35, because it's not about the money, really. It's about the principle. If we establish and you like that product, and it says to subscribe, $800, I will walk away. Even they, say, oh, well, let's take away the $10 or $20. I will walk away. I'm like happy with that, because a deal by mouth or by written form is a deal. Okay. Lastly, number 5. Yeah. Just make sure that use your gut instinct. Like, for example, if you feel that something's not right. Like, for example, make sure you get to know not just the item that you're trying to purchase, as a buyer, right, or a seller as well. Get to know the buyer and the seller. Okay. Get to know as much information about him or her as much as you can. Why are they buying it? Why are they selling it? Right? That's very important, because then it'll help you to understand things. Get to know a little bit about a person. For example, if it's a person who sells a camera. Was he a photographer? Why does he own such an expensive camera for amateur? Right? Did he steal that stuff? Right? So you gotta know about that. Okay? So it's very important to know that you want to buy from a sketchy person, right? Get to know a little bit as much as you can about the background and all that, why they're selling it and why they're buying it and all that stuff, right? And you feel more secure about that. And then of course also there's consistency in their personality, right? If you feel that something's not right, most likely your gut instinct is correct. Okay, so be safe. And I think that's about it that I want to tell you. Just be safe about when you do these transactions, especially when it involves a lot of money, and especially the item that you care for, that you're trying to sell off and you really cherish. You don't want to be losing that, okay? Even though I know you need the money, but still, you don't want to be losing that item and also get injured along the way as well, and not get the money you want as well if you're the seller. As a buyer, for example, there's a lot of scam out there, so they may run away with your money. They'll ask you to pay first and all that. So avoid that. Like I said, cash is king. Establish in public places. See face to face. If I don't see you, you don't get the money. That's period. Okay? That's the end all thing, right? And I need to. Oh, by the way, as a buyer, make sure you test the product. Okay? So they describe and everything online, and you already in your head what you want to buy, and you're willing to pay the full price for it. But make sure bring your equipment to test it. For example, if it's a camera, make sure you bring the lens. If it's a lens, bring the camera, right? So those kind of things. Just make sure you test it out vigorously. I would say the word vigorously, so that you feel satisfied that you're buying or purchasing something that is worth it, right? I mean, why not just go to the store to buy it? They have warranty for it. The reason for, I'm cheap. You're cheap when you're buying on Kijiji or Craigslist, right? Or sometimes the item is rare, you may not be able to find it. That's true. That may be the reason. But most of us, the reason is we're cheap. We want to get the best deal out there, right? So you want to buy it, feeling that you got a bargain, right? So you not have to pay that much. You don't have to pay tax, and you're paying like 20-30% off the original price. That's awesome. You're talking about 40% saving, almost, right? Yeah, and you get the item that you want. All right. Thanks for watching. EducateTube.com. Be safe.